Hi, good afternoon. This is Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall Long. I am thrilled to be joining you as we celebrate the Choir School of Delaware's Black History Month concert. Delaware has been so fortunate to have a remarkable repertoire of Black musicians and singers throughout our state's history. Perhaps you're not aware, but since 1883, the Choir School of Delaware has been singing to our state and community, and over the past 25 years has launched a remarkable after-school program for young students to learn how to sing and develop their music skills. I really want to thank Director Harley Emerson and the entire team of faculty who work tirelessly behind the scenes, where they work to improve our young musicians' personal development, their music education, and really just enrich the culture here in Delaware. So as we sit and we listen to the Black History Month concert, let us also continue to be very supportive of the Choir School of Delaware. Thank you so much, and please enjoy.
theme, Amplify Art That Resonates, we close out this historic month with a concert repertoire filled with traditional spirituals and gospel components, all representative of music from across the African continent. Many of you are familiar with the choir school, but for our newcomers, we offer you a special welcome, and we hope you will be inspired to learn more about us. The Choir School of Delaware combines a rich after-school program of professional-level choral training and performance with academic tutoring and individual mentoring to provide a life-changing opportunity for children ages 7 through 17, many from the city of Wilmington's neighborhoods. Our after-school program, now in its 25th year, provides aftercare support for children and families of the community. Your support, through the purchase of subscriptions and concert tickets, as well as your volunteerism and philanthropy, ensures that together we will continue to impact lives and build hope for future generations in the Wilmington community. Although our yearly subscription series has ended, you can still purchase tickets for our Women's History Month concert, Phenomenal Woman, which will be held March 26th at Grace United Methodist Church in Wilmington. For more information, please see one of our choir school staff. We are also proud to announce that on April 27th through the 30th, the choir school will be hosting a 4-day conference titled Bent But Not Broken. A transcendent and enlightening experience with musical performances from esteemed choirs and keynote lectures by some of the nation's most knowledgeable scholars of music and history. The first conference of its kind, Bent But Not Broken, aims to encompass the contributions of Black and brown composers throughout the history and bring them to life for your knowledge and enjoyment. Head to our school's website, choirschoolofdelaware.org/BBNB, for tickets and the conference's daily agenda and more detailed information. Thank you for your willingness to come out and support our choir. Turning our attention to tonight's performance, please enjoy Sing Out My Soul and Happy Black History Month.
Thank you. I am going to tell you a little bit about the next couple pieces. They're particularly special to us. It is a set of 3 spirituals that are arranged by Black women. While contributions of Black composers have been historically devalued, it is important to note that the contributions of Black women composers have particularly been devalued. And this particular set of spirituals was chosen because of their connection to the Underground Railroad and their coded meanings about freedom. The first piece is by Dr. Persephone Powell. It's called I Want to Be Ready. Dr. Powell is a prolific composer who writes spirituals and gospel, as well as non-idiomatic or Western art music. She is also a gifted voice teacher and conductor. You can hear her command of solo vocal writing in her arrangement of I Want to Be Ready, which will feature 8th grader Taylor Knoll and choral scholar Amanda Sharif for the solos. The second piece is by Dr. Undine Smith Moore, who is known as the Dean of Black Women Composers. Dr. Moore attended Fisk University. Fisk University is the home of the Fisk Jubilee Singers. It is this historic choir to whom we owe a great deal of gratitude as they took the functional spiritual and initiated the concert spiritual. Dr. Moore was the first student from Fisk University accepted into the Juilliard School, where she graduated in 1926. Her arrangement of I Believe This Is Jesus is a shimmering and hopeful piece. There are very few Christmas spirituals or spirituals that center around the nativity scene, and this is one of them. This genre of spiritual is full of hope, as those who were enslaved were not just celebrating the joy of Christmas, but were joyfully singing about a liberator who would free them from enslavement. The last piece is by Dr. B.E. Boykin, a name that might be new to you. We really have grown to love performing her works. She is a graduate of the Spelman College and recently earned her doctoral degree from Georgia State University with an emphasis in music education. Dr. Boykin is currently an assistant professor of music at the Georgia Institute of Technology, and we really love singing her version of Go Down Moses, which is particularly special. And when we get to that piece, Mr. Ariane Harley Emerson will tell you a little bit more about it. We hope you enjoy the set of spirituals. My apologies. I forgot something. I want to introduce Councilwoman Brigida Fields, who will offer a bit of poetry before we begin this set.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brigida Fields. I'm the councilwoman for the 5th District. And I want to say thank you to the Choir School of Delaware for always inviting me to any event that they have. And I just have to say I'm really excited because they are moving to the 5th District where I am their representative. So that's why I'm really excited. And I just have to say, I'm going to be reading Still I Rise. And I have to say that Dr. Tracy and I, we met, and he knew the adversities and the trials and the tribulations that I had to go through during my campaign. So I'm going to be reading this actually from my heart because this means a lot to me. So I'm going to read Still I Rise by Dr. Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may try me in every dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides. Just like hope springing high, still, I rise. Do you want to see me broken? No. Bow head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries. Does my haughtiness offend you? Do you take it awful hard? 'Cause I laugh. I got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wonderfully clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slaves. I rise, I rise, I rise. Thank you.
is Go Down Moses. This is a very special arrangement of Go Down Moses in many ways. One, it is accompanied by piano, which is a little bit unusual in the spiritual tradition, and also because it infuses hip hop in it as well, and also a little bit of a Spanish kind of flamenco dance. So a lot of times when you will notice in the piano part this dum ba-da-dum bum 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 bum, right? And you'll hear that, and then you'll also hear this hip hop groove, and you'll know the piece is really about to get rocking when the beat drops. is entitled The Lee Shore. The Lee Shore is a really special piece of music. It is composed by Samuel Coleridge Taylor. Samuel Coleridge Taylor was half British and half American, with parents that were formerly enslaved. He went over and studied at the Royal College of Music, and he studied with this composer by the name of Charles Villiers Stanford, one of the greatest composers of cathedral music. You can definitely hear that Stanfordian fingerprint on this music. What I also love about this piece is its historical significance. If you are a Moby Dick fan, you might know that chapter 23 is entitled The Lee Shore. So Melville bases his chapter off of this poem by Thomas Hood. And in this poem, what happens is the poetry is all about the storm, the ship, and the storm, the sleet, this weather, and that it is actually more dangerous to go to shore because the shore is rocky and there are so many winds. And it really is to tell us that sometimes getting closer to home can be more dangerous, which I think is a really wonderful message. And I love how these things come back together. Now, the reason why we really chose this piece is because Samuel Coleridge Taylor is a master of writing music that sounds like the text. So we're going to sing this opening for you, sleet and hail and thunder, and you're going to be able to actually hear that music, that text coming through in the music. Sleet and hail and thunder! Sleet and hail and thunder! So you can totally hear that, right? So you hear the sleet, the rain, and the thunder, and then you're going to hear the winds sweep on you, winds that rave, and you can hear that. So we'll start from the beginning, so you can hear those winds coming. Sleet and hail and thunder! Sleet and hail and thunder! And the winds that rave and rave till the sun, so you can hear all of the drama that's in the piece. Then, when he starts to talk about the sad part, from the weeping woman, he starts to paint this image here that really just pulls at our heartstrings, and listen to what happens in the music. This is that's in it. We're going to start from the beginning. This is The Lee Shore. Sleet and hail and thunder! Sleet and hail and thunder! And the winds that rave till the sun still. The sun
Invitation to Love by little Paul Lawrence Dunbar. Come when the nights are bright with stars, or come when the moon is mellow. Come when the sun has golden bars, drops on the hayfield yellow. Come in the twilight soft and gray. Come in the night or come in the day. Come, O love, whenever you may, and you are welcome, welcome. You are sweet, O love, dear love. You are soft as the nesting dove. Come to my heart and bring it to rest as the birds that flies home to its welcome nest. Come when my heart is full of grief, or when my heart is merry. Come with the falling of the leaf, or with the reddening cherry. Come when the year's first blossom blows. Come when the summer gleams and glows. Come with the winter's drifting snows. And you are welcome, welcome.
Sing out my soul.
The next piece on our program is entitled Safe in His Arms. And this is going to be sung by our choral scholars here. This piece is composed by Dr. Jason Max Fernandang. He is the Director of Choral Activities at Oakwood University and conducts the world-famous Aeolians. So they are a college choir, but they are a really, really, really good college choir that tours the world and does a lot of professional recordings as part of their work. Another thing about this piece that you'll want to know is that Dr. Jason Max Fernandang loves jazz. He grew up in Trinidad and Tobago, where him and his friends would find the nearest radio that they could find, and they would listen to the Swingle Singers. They would listen to this group called Take Six, which some of you guys might have heard of. They've won 10 Grammy Awards. And so this piece has a lot of that influence within it, a lot of what I like to refer to as radical jazz. So what I am going to do for you, we're going to have some poetry that's going to be read as we get ready to go into Safe into His Arms. But I did want you to have a little bit of the palette of Safe in His Arms to be able to metabolize some of that jazz. So this is just the beginning of Safe in His Arms. So you can see, ooh, really velvety, right? And the next thing that he is really great at is he's great at writing a melody. So I want you to just hear a little bit of the melody of the actual piece. This is right where sopranos come in. Right? Beautiful line of melody there. And then the next thing that he does, which is just quite brilliant, is he's Seventh-day Adventist, and his school is a Seventh-day Adventist school. So he weaves within there some hymn and some kind of hymnotic sorts of things. So you hear this hallelujah refrain that comes back and forth. And then you also hear this one hymn. This is measure 21. Right? So you can see how he weaves that in. And then the other brilliant thing that he does is that this text is just so jam-packed of just, heart. And he writes it for his daughter who was born in 2018. He wrote this text in 2019. But it's as if he knew the world that we would live in today. Because the world's gone mad. Chaos everywhere. I look into your eyes and realize that I'm safe in His arms. And it is just such a powerful piece, the way that that comes in. But it's still a piece that is an intimate piece and written for his daughter. And so he puts in a lullaby. And so he weaves within this Brahms's lullaby. And you'll be able to hear that. so you can see how the Brahms lullaby goes in. So what we're going to do is we're going to have some poetry by our twin poets, and then we're going to go right into Safe in His Arms.
Good evening. The twin poets, the poet laureates for the state of Delaware. I am State Representative for non-idiomatic, little big brother Al Mills, and we're going to share 2 minutes are very important in our household. Share 2 of our poems. The first is entitled Why I Write, and then it will be followed by another poem called No Home to Go Home To. I write for those kids who never had a chance to just lie in the grass and look up at the clouds. I write for the ones who never even looked up at the clouds, except when it's time to volunteer to read out loud. I write for those who never even looked up at the clouds without expecting to feel rain. I write for little girls. I write for those little kids, for the ones who never had a chance to just lie in the grass and look up at the clouds. For the ones that cry on the inside, I write. I write for those who never even looked up at the clouds except to feel rain. I write for little girls that don't know their father, that don't know their father's name. I write to show the kids that there's far more important things for them to think and talk about, besides the fake beef between Drake and Meek and when the new Jordans is coming out. I write to give a voice to everyday beautiful things like birds flying south and leaves changing colors that get overlooked. I write for all the fiends out there that swear they never get hooked. I write for all the nephews out there that know the pain of seeing their favorite uncle go from being one of the coolest people on earth to the junkie always begging for change. I write for relatives who can't relate to one another, for little girls who are looking for love and found themselves teen mothers. I write for the circle of poverty that never ends in the PJs, for grown men that prey on young girls these days. I write for all the Tamir Rices they didn't get on tape. I write for all the kids around the way, their own neighborhood they weren't able to escape. I write for the beautiful artists, the talented poets, singers, and scholars whose talent warranted of athletes' dollars. I write because a man with a ball in his hand has never been a threat. That's why LeBron and Steph can cash $1 million checks. I write for jail cells that get filled before the prisons are even built. I write for those that see prisons as businesses and more than CEOs. Those that think, let's build these prisons, how many people they can hold. I write for parents that don't have good parenting skills, like the ones that buy outfits rather than paying bills. I write because God's thoughts enter my mind in the form of rhyme, and my mind's rhyme takes to the confines of grimy urban places. Some of that was seen by their faces. When I address the fact that so many black teens never seen their father's faces, they label me racist. So I write to share my love affair words with the children because God is on my tongue and the world is in need of healing. I write because the children didn't understand the death behind the deaths of big and black. I write because there's no more room at all for rest in peace, man's and movies on my block. I write for all the mothers that had their children killed by guns. I write for all the I love you the fathers never said to their sons. So I write. Thank you. No home to go home to. He said, Negro, you should be happy that you're here in America. He said if it wasn't for him and his fellow Christians on their civilizing missions, he said I would still be there in Africa with those uncivilized savages, with the backward soulless people of the world, the ones who have no history, no future. He said I should be grateful I was brought to this great land, happy to call America my home. But I know in my heart I could never really call America my home, because if this was my home, they wouldn't treat me the way they do. And if what they're saying about Africa is true, I don't want to go back there either. So I'm starting to feel like I ain't got a home to go home to. Like I'm trapped in between these two lands without a home to go home to. They got me sharecropping on a piece of worthless land. And it seems like the more I make, the more they take. Season after season, the bigger balances do. And at the end of the harvest, I have nothing to go home to. And when I thought about moving up north, he said, you can't go nowhere. He said I couldn't leave till I paid you all I owe, so still ain't nothing to go home for. My kids can't go to school like other children do. They're gonna help me work in the fields because of the money I owe you. So in the eyes of my kids, thanks to you, I know coming home is no home to come home to. They got me working to survive, doing odd jobs. Seems like even the salvation of my soul is being used to maintain their life of leisure. Now my heart can never explain somebody else's pain, but why would she say I raped her? Why would she say I raped her when in reality she couldn't keep her hands off me? Told me not to tell a soul that she gonna cross me. Now they burning crosses all around town, burn my house down to the ground now. What I'm gonna do, cause I ain't got no home to go home to. I ain't got no home to go home to. They got their dogs and their guns and they coming after me for something I ain't do. In her heart she know it's true. And I refuse to die for her lie, to be blamed for her shame. My wife said you can try to explain, but the truth they ain't gonna believe. They ain't gonna be happy till you hanging from one of those trees. My grandmother said, son, all you can do is run, child, please just leave. She said if you don't leave tonight, you won't live to see the morning light. So now I'm running, I know where I'm running from, but I don't know where I'm running to, cause it seems like I ain't got no home to go home to. I ain't got no home to go home to, but I'm running through the darkness of the woods. I'm guided by the light of my mother's face. I run into the memories of my mother's smile. I remember being taken out of my mother's arms as a child. I'm running like I'm racing against my childhood memories. I remember my grandmother telling me that I laid in the blood that spilled when my father got killed. She said, but they can never kill his spirit. She said, that's why they call me a Namdi, because it means my father's inside of me. She said that's Igbo, our native tongue, for the land east of Benin where our people come from. So although it seems like I don't, I guess I really do got a home to go home to. I got a home to go home to, but I can't. I wish I could run back to those African shores, but I can't, and I run till I can't run no more. I can't run no more, but yet my mind's still running. Think about my family and how much they gonna miss me. As I stand on the banks of the Mississippi and I say to God that I don't know what to do. And then the face of the river became the face of God, and he smiled and said, come on home, child, you got a home to go home to. And it seems the more the river roared, the more God said he loved me. Then he stretched open his arms as if he was just waiting to hug me. And as my feet leave this loveless land, I can hear my grandmother on her knees praying, saying, precious Lord, take my baby's hand. And although it's the middle of the winter, the water was warm. And this world can't do me no harm, because now I'm in God's arms, and I know it ain't real, because I can feel him holding me tight. As I'm carried under the wave by the current of the river, I don't fight, because I know God's going to bring me home tonight. Thank you.
whom I kill, who will be reading from the Quran.
Good evening, everyone. I asked could I give a short description of a definition when we say Allah. And they said it was fine, it'll take a few minutes. When we say Allah, we mean the Almighty, the Omniscient, the all and all, the Omega, the Alpha, all those things. So when I say that, that's what I mean. That's what our concept is with that. I chose two particular ayahs, which are considered verses, from a part of the surah, which is a chapter in the Quran. Being that in law enforcement that we've been talking about different things and through the climate of that has been happening throughout the past couple of years. So I'm going to seek refuge in Almighty God first against Satan, and with the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Allah commands justice and the doing of good and the liberality to kith and kin. And he forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may recite and receive admonition. That was from the surah or chapter to be, and that was ayah 90. And the last one I would like to read is from called the inner or higher apartments. It is verse, or what we call ayah 13. O mankind, we created you from a single pair of a male and a female. And we made you into nations and tribes, that you may know each other, not despise one another. Verily, the most honored of you is the most righteous of you. And Almighty God has full knowledge and is well acquainted with all things. Thank you very much.
As we get ready for our final set of music for you this evening, we want to thank you again for coming out to spend some time with us. There are going to be some baskets that come your way. What I do want to do is stand on my soapbox, quite literally, and tell you about the choir school program, which is one of the most transformative programs in the city of Wilmington. More than just a choir, we are a lifeline to our community that we serve. Do More 24 is coming up. Do More 24 is Delaware's Day of Giving, and there is almost $500,000 of matching funds that can go into that. In your pews today, there are some envelopes and some pens and things like that. And if you would like to give a gift today, you can do that online using the QR code to sign up for Do More 24 and be reminded to give on that day, which is next week, Thursday into Friday. Or you can decide to put something in the envelope, and we can use those gifts for Do More 24 to go toward the matches that will be happening on that day. So we'll give a couple of moments. Some baskets are going to come your way, and we invite you to enjoy a little music.